Hey guys, how's it going? It's Rob Sutton with Bike 198, and we are back here with another video. Today I wanted to talk about the process I went through on picking an e-bike, and what I ended up with here is this Trek Rail 9.8. So let's get at it. So guys, welcome to my backyard and my new bike. We are back here with my two boxers and a bunch of birds chirping, so you will hear those in the background, but I wanted to get into the 6 criteria that I actually used to pick out my new bike. As you guys know from the previous video, I can't ride a regular bike anymore, so we were talking about e-bikes, and I wanted to talk specifically about those 6 criteria and get into it. So first off, I wanted a carbon frame. There are several reasons for this. One, it does keep down on weight. I know 2.5 pounds when you're talking about a 50-pound bike doesn't seem like all that much, but I'm on an e-bike because of injury, not because of choice. So any weight I could save at all was going to be a good thing. The second part's kind of vanity. I like the way a carbon frame looks, especially when it comes to e-bikes. It keeps more of a similar form and function as a regular bike, and you get the same swooping lines that look really clean. I didn't want something that was all welded together with a battery strapped to it. I wanted something that looked like a regular bike. And to get that, you really need to go into the carbon lines to get a regular looking mountain bike that isn't going to draw attention. All right, so the second thing, I wanted 150 millimeters of travel in the rear, 160 millimeter up front. This was whether it was 27.5 or 29er. That balance is really good here in the southeast where we have long climbs with long descents, and it's very technical, very rocky, very rooty. So I like bombing down really big stuff with big tires. I didn't want some weight weenie bike. I didn't want something that was overly heavy with a dual crown because we do not have shuttle runs. I wanted something that fit the riding style I was riding before I had to ride an e-bike. So luckily the e-bike community falls right into that very easily. Most of the bikes that come out in this segment are right around that range, but I had a second caveat when it came to that sizing and travel. I wanted the wheel sizes to match. Some of the e-bikes in this category actually go with a 29er front and a 27.5 rear, so they could keep the rear chainstay shorter because their geometry and their suspension design does not allow for enough room for the motor. What they end up doing is having to stretch those chainstays. I wanted something that was still playful, that I was able to flick around. The third I wasn't really expecting. In the past, I've done all of the work on my own bike, so if I ran into any warranty issues on frame, it was going back to the manufacturer anyway. I really didn't worry too much about local bike shop support. This is different. Some of the maintenance on this motor I might not be able to do myself, so being able to have to ship it off to somewhere that's maybe overseas or somewhere else really wasn't that appealing to me. I wanted to have a local bike shop that was there for support if I needed it on the motor side. What this did was take all the direct buys out, so like that YT Decoy, which looks like an awesome bike and a great value, really kind of got X'd out for me because any warranty issues were going to have to be shipped off rather than dealing with locally where I might get a loaner or something else while the problem was fixed. This was something that was really outside of my comfort zone because I'm so used to just wrenching on my own bikes on my own. I'm not used to having to getting support from a local bike shop. But at the same time, it does feel good to support locally, especially right now. So I picked brands that I could actually get local support from and not have to worry about being without a bike if something happened to this electrical unit that you now have in the bottom bracket. All right, so number 4. I wanted this bike to look as much like a regular mountain bike as possible. I know e-mountain bikes have been really accepted well in Europe and other parts of the world. Unfortunately, here in the US, you still get the comments like, oh, it's a motorcycle, get off of my trails. So since this is the only mountain bike I can ride with my son and my friends, I wanted it to blend in as much as possible. This ended up getting rid of some of those more aggressive e-bike designs where you could really see the battery sticking out from the frame. I wanted it to blend in as much as possible. Yes, you are still going to have the motor. Yes, you are still going to have the thick down tube that you can't get away from because the battery is installed. But I wanted a full capacity battery e-bike that still looked like a regular mountain bike. And some of the models just got X'd off instantly if they looked like they had a huge battery hanging off the front of them. So number 5, and this one actually wasn't that easy for me because I'm used to justifying blowing out budgets for bikes. I needed to stay at a budget. 1, I wasn't sure if this was going to work at all, and luckily it did. But 2, I needed to stay in a budget because these e-bikes have gotten crazy expensive when in a mountain biking industry that's already going up in price. One of the Santa Cruzes I test drove was $11,600 retail. That is obscene for a mountain bike. I couldn't even believe the number I was looking at. So my wife and I actually came up with a budget range that we were looking in. It was anything within like 5,500, 6,500. We wanted to stay under 7 grand and get the best bike we possibly could. So I wanted to stay in that budget range, and luckily we were able to, and I'll tell you more about how we were able to get a better bike out of that here in a little bit. So number 6, and this is the one I actually was not expecting but kind of knew was going to happen. COVID has affected every single outdoor sport everywhere. You can't find a boat, you can't find a kayak, you can't find camping equipment, and you can't find any bikes in stock. Families are buying up bikes like crazy because it's the only thing they could do together and be outside and still socially distanced. So inventory is zero. When you add to the fact that the 2021 models are coming out at this exact same time, and inventory is hard to get out of China, so there really was nothing to be found. The Trek 9.7 I was looking at was 68 days out. I was able to find some of the hecklers in the bottom end spec that met my budget range right on the outside end that were going to be in stock, ready to go, but everything else was out. I mean, even if you go to any of the direct buy guys right now, everything's out of stock. Everything's gone. That's when a friend of mine actually came to the rescue. He had a Trek 9.8. It's a 2020 model with the upgraded carbon wheels and Shimano brakes, was willing to let go of it so he can order a new one. So I actually ended up in a 9.8, which would have been outside of my budget, in my budget. But we were able to find something that got me riding instantly, and I'm really grateful for it. So guys, here it is. Here's the new bike. It's a Trek Rail 9.8. I've gotten a lot of questions of why I didn't look at Specialized. Specialized has been a long-term partner of Bike 198, and I've really enjoyed riding their bikes over the years. Unfortunately, this year they condensed down their product line. It takes almost $9 grand to get into a carbon bike, so I had to have been in an aluminum. That X'd off one of the criteria I was actually looking for. They do make an awesome e-bike, and they've been in the business more than anyone in this e-bike scene, but it just didn't fit my criteria that I was looking for when switching to this bike. So I've gotten some rides in with my son, I've gotten some rides in with friends, and I'm really excited about getting back out there. Here's the new bike. We're going to do more reviews around it. And until then, on to the next one. Please like and subscribe this video if you enjoyed it. And until then, we'll see you later. Peace.